Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, Holiday Edition. Bob Pompeani here. We have a lot to get into tonight, including Letang, Malkin. Penguins head toward unrestricted free agency. What happens with those guys? We'll also delve into another landscape of college changes. The landscape is changing almost every day when it comes to major college football. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Pirates and what they do at the trade deadline. Here to discuss is your panel. We have Jeff Hathorn from 93.7 The Fan, the sports director. Flanked to his left is Jason Mackey, who covers the Pirates with the Post-Gazette and does a great job. And Paul Zeise, of course, with 93.7 The Fan and the Post-Gazette. So, Jason, we'll start with you. Pirates just came off split with Milwaukee. Brian Reynolds' name always seems to come up. He's under team control, but yet people out there believe he is probably the #1 target in a trade discussion. Should he be? Will he be?
Should he be talked about? Should he be considered? Should they listen? Absolutely. Should they do it? Probably not, based on what I think the return would be. If they somehow wound up with an absolutely glorious offer dangled in front of them, I guess.
What would that look like?
I mean, 2 top 50 guys, something
pitchers? Because they don't have a lot of
pitchers, position players, I don't really care. I mean, just something absolutely premium that you're going to say, look, this is why we did it. It has to be that obvious. I don't think that's going to come along, Pomp. I really don't. But Ben Cherington, he's going to listen. He should listen on everybody, whether it's David Bednar, whether it's Brian Reynolds. It makes every bit of sense. At the same time, that offer's not coming.
You know, they should listen, but there's no way in hell I'd trade him. I
mean,
the way he plays the game, the example he sets for the team, he hustles every time. And, you know, they have outfielders in the minor leagues. They have nobody like Brian Reynolds.
No.
I mean, people think, oh, you know, they've got this guy or Kanan Smith and Jigba or any of these. None of those guys are Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds is an elite player. And if they are seriously going to have something in the next couple of years, I think Brian Reynolds needs to be a part of that.
Well, if that's the case and they don't trade him, they should sign him long term, and then that would end a lot of the speculation. Obviously, they could trade him after they have a long-term deal in place. But to me, it just seems like if you're going to not trade him and use what you could get back in return for him, then make him a part of your long term. Commit to him long term and make him a part of your team. And then all of a sudden you've got him, you've got Cabrian Hayes, you've got O'Neal Cruz, you got Jack Sawinski. Ronzi Contreras. Now all of a sudden you got the core of something that you can actually build around. But again, the problem the Pirates have is they have no credibility in any of these kinds of discussions because at the end of the day, that would require committing a lot of money to a player who has earned a lot of money. And until I see them do that, I'm not going to believe it. So if you're not going to sign him long term, you might as well trade him and you start the clock over with younger guys.
You mentioned a lot of the younger guys, Jason. I want to ask you about what happens now with all these guys coming back. You have guys like Yoshi Satsugo, you have Kevin Newman. Everybody knows what they are. Should they play ahead of these young guys?
In special cases, I think guys that you can actually get something for. And Yoshi honestly might be that. If he can catch a little bit of a hot streak, if he was legitimately slowed at the beginning of the season by that lumbar strain that he had, play him. Give him some playing time, but if he's not hitting, Kevin Newman, same thing. Ben Gamble, I would give a little bit more leeway to. He's been more productive more recently. But I would not be sending guys down just to make room for guys that aren't a part of your plan. And I just want to add one thing to the Brian Reynolds point with Paul. Do you really think Bob Nutting fixed what he did at the beginning of the season, signing the 2-year deal, avoiding arbitration? How much do you think he wanted to spend like half a season of, if he ends up spending $6.5 million for nothing, so they trade Brian Reynolds? Do you really think that's what he wanted to do? I kind of doubt it.
Well, I think the big thing is with respect to why do we need to see Kevin Newman play again? I heard Ben Cherington here today talking about how O'Neal Cruz, might play a different position because, we're going to get some playing time for Kevin Newman. I mean, what are you talking about? Why do we need to see this guy play ever again? We know what he is. There's enough, to quote Clint Hurdle, volume of work that we know what he is and who he is, and to me, it makes no sense. You want to tell me that you're going to try and showcase a Yoshi or even a Gamble? Okay, those guys have shown at times they can get extremely hot and hit some home runs, and maybe there's some value there. We know who Kevin Newman is. There's no reason that guy should even be on the roster, much less play, but carry on.
Yeah, let me give you another hurdleism through my lens.
Oh,
if
no.
O'Neal Cruz isn't playing every day, there needs to be people fired. Unless he's hurt or in some horrible slump that he can't get out of. He needs to be your everyday shortstop for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Maybe Newman spells him every once in a while, or there's a doubleheader, or there's, they have 14 days in a row, or he plays a little bit of second base, maybe. And Tsutsugo, to Jason's point,
if you
maybe there is something.
And Chavis,
and it's
fine with it.
And it's not like Michael Chavis, or they've been playing Josh Van Meter there. Yoshi Tsutsugo can play if Josh Van Meter is going to be their first baseman.
I'm fine with that. You can recoup something to the trade. But if you have O'Neal Cruz on your team, if he is part of your plan long term, which obviously he should be, why is he not playing? Why is this not an opportunity for him to develop, to make mistakes, to learn things?
Now, I do think this. I think Kevin Newman could be a good utility player, because if some of these younger guys aren't going to play every day, they should go down to the minors where they can play every day.
Why are we doing this?
But that's what I'm saying. As a utility player. Same with Ben Gamble. He could be a utility player because these guys need to play.
It's realistic. That's what they're going to do.
We exercised the Cole Tucker demons a little bit ago, a couple of months ago. Can we get rid of this Newman guy, too? There's some of these guys, I just have no interest in watching play anymore. None. And I don't think Kevin Newman adds anything. I think there's somebody that can be a utility guy. And if you really look at the way baseball is played nowadays, it means the guy's probably going to get a lot of at-bats up here. There's no reason to send him down.
I got a minute left. Start with you, Jeff, on this one. Robert Murray was on the Fan this week. He's a baseball insider from CBS, and he said the Pirates are going to be dangerous in 2 years. And I really wanted to hear more about logically why he would say that, given the fact that there's a lack of pitching in this organization right now, at least people you would expect to be here. Are they going to be dangerous? Where would they be in 2 years?
Well, I think people are starting to get enamored with their minor league system, and they're looking at, Henry Davis, they're looking at Quinn Priester, they're looking at Mojinski, they're looking at guys that can play the game, and some of the guys that we've seen already this year, and they think as that group comes together that they're going to be more dangerous.
We've been down this road before, though, Jay.
Yeah, we've been down this road for 30 years. I'm not trying to throw water on it. I think anybody that reads my coverage would say I skew a little bit more toward the positive side anyway. Like Robert Murray needs to cool his jets a little bit. Dangerous?
I think what's dangerous is whatever Robert Murray put in his pipe to smoke before he came on the Fan. That's what's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because, again, it comes down to, do you got enough pitching? And until the Pirates show me, and then again, I'm not going to ever doubt Bob Nutting, but until they show me they're committed to go out and sign real pitchers, not scrap heap guys that they hope that they hit a lightning in a bottle with, real pitchers for real money to really bolster their starting rotation. If you look at the way the teams are built, that's how they're built.
We're due for a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's happened in college football. We've seen two blue bloods from the Pac-12 make a move. What's next, and what should Pitt do? It's next right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.